So now, as I mentioned, within RMC, so when I refer to RMC, it is nothing but the risk management cloud. So within RMC, we have three major modules of RMC. So one is advanced access controls, which we call it as AAC. The reason I have mentioned all these acronyms, all these things. So this is what we will be using down the session. Okay, so when I say AAC, it is access control. Okay, so when we say AFC, it is financial controls or transaction controls. I'll give you an explanation for all these things, but let us see what are all the different modules that we have. Financial reporting compliance. Okay, so this is nothing but FRC. Okay, so the reporting compliance is referred to as FRC. Access control. These are all the main three modules of RMC. So when we say about access control, what access has been provided for an user. So any application, you take it on a day-to-day world, any app that you install, you need to have a username. It can be your email address, it can be your contact number, or it can be any of your personal information, but it needs to have a username. Based on your username, they will be whatever the options you select, you will get an access to it. If I'm using any card specific app, right? So I'll be just able to buy, but I cannot sell anything from that particular app. So once I do a registration for selling information, right, I'll get an access related to selling. I can buy, I can sell, all these things. But as a buyer, I'll not be able to sell. I have to do a different authorization for the selling purpose. So those are all coming under the access control. In an application, what access has been provided for a username? Okay, is he provided with the required access, or is he provided with more access? What he is supposed to have, if he has got more access, then it will be considered as an issue or a risk. Why is that risk associated from the access? If I'm just able, if I'm a user in Oracle application, I am supposed to just view, for example, I'm supposed to view a bank information. Okay, but someone has given me an access to modify the bank account. So what I can do, I can go into an application. I was supposed to just view the bank information, but now I have an option to change the bank account. So the existing bank account for which some $100 or $200 or $100,000 needs to go, I can change that bank account number to my bank account number. Okay, so no one is going to identify what I have done because I have been given that access to perform, so I can do that one. It will be considered as an error record or a fraudulent record. So those things will not be highlighted from the system directly. But this tool will give you those information. Which user has more than the expected access or more than the agreed access. When they have some sensitive access also, deducting all those unauthorized access is done through the AAC tool. Okay, so monitoring sensitive access also on a regular basis. Sensitive information, say for example, national identifier rider or SSN number, or any credit card information. So not everyone in the organization should have this access or need not have this information. There will be a certain team who needs to have information only if they are authorized. So all these things we can make sure that only the required members are having the required access, and on a daily basis we can monitor whether the sensitive access is given to a larger audience or given to the any additional users who are not supposed to have those sensitive access. Okay, so all these things we will be deducting it to the AAC tool, Advanced Access Control. This is completely taking care of all your access related risks. Okay, so that is where the AAC comes into the picture. Now consider advanced financial controls. So what is this financial controls? So access controls I have done. So say for example, a person due to a product limitation or something due to the business agreement, they have got some approved elevated access. When we say elevated access, more than the agreed access, they have got some access. Now I'm supposed to view the bank account. I have changed the bank account, which is as per the business agreed elevated access. I can change the bank account. Now what I did, for the changed bank account, I have created an invoice. I am creating an invoice for this bank account to make a payment of $100. So what this financial controls will do is, it will identify all those fraudulent or irrelevant transactions or the error transaction that was created out of the business flow. Okay, so it will identify those transactions. A supplier is there, it is all approved, everything is done. No one should be touching the personal information of the supplier or the taxpayer ID of the supplier, but someone has modified it intentionally. So what this will do is, it will identify who has made the change, why it was made change, what time frame they have made this change, how many times they have made these changes in the application for a certain period of time. Okay, so transaction based risks are detected through the AFC. Okay, so this is all mostly around the access transactions, that is all there within the application. Within the Oracle application, you will be able to perform all these risk detection or controls that you can implement. So we will be placing in control. Using that control, we will detect all the users who have bypassed the process and created some transaction or try to view some information. So all these things are identified through this AAC AFC. Now coming to FRC. So what is this financial reporting compliance? So how effective is this reporting compliance is? So it need not completely depend on Oracle. So AAC and AFC, it is completely dependent on the Oracle transaction or user access provided within the Oracle application. Whereas take financial reporting compliance, it need not be. Okay, so I'm running a business. Okay, so till date, all the auditing that has been happening, right, I have documented in my Excel sheet, or I have documented it manually in some kind of a ledger book. Okay, so what business can do is, they can upload all those manual activities or Excel sheets or their entire business process into this reporting compliance and do the analysis based on that information. Okay, so they can do an just take an example. So from the pandemic, we are almost nearing like we are shifting our gears to go back to office or start our routine life, how it was in 2019 and all, right? So now there are few protocols that the companies are following, or entire governments, everyone might be following. Say for example, COVID-19. Okay, so if you are supposed to enter into an office premise or into any public places, there are checks to make sure whether you are vaccinated, what is your history, when did you get vaccination, is it like a two dose vaccination, or you have taken the booster. So all these information, it is completely tot of business process. Okay, for running my company, I no need to check all these things, but still for my company to be more effective and making sure, there are few controls from the entire company standpoint. Also there are few protocols that I have to do. So I'm taking those as a control. What is the control here? Make sure all the employees are vaccinated. I can have a simple Excel sheet. I can populate all the employee details. Yes or no, I can do it. So where will I document it? Tomorrow, if some government authorities are asking, can you share me the list? So where will I find it? So what they can do is, they can just go ahead and upload it in the reporting complaints. They will just upload that Excel sheet. What that Excel sheet will do, if I say, for example, identify how many employees are vaccinated fully, how many are partially, how many are totally not vaccinated. Based on that, I can do a risk evaluation or risk analysis. If the percentage of risk is 100%, then I have to kind of take an immediate action. I have to force my employees either to get vaccinated or continue work from home. Those are all the remediation plan that business has to come. Okay, what I'm trying to say here is, it need not be completely based on your business process only. I am creating an invoice, the supplier will make the payment, that transaction will go to bank. Those things also you can do it. Outside of it also we can do it. One such example is the COVID-19 protocols. Okay. So this is on the FRC side. Okay, so it will strengthen your business controls, and also it will give you an option to do all the access, reporting purpose, integrity within the reporting. All these things is taken care of the FRC area. Okay, so okay, so the application security side, Oracle side, right? So when we wanted to see the application security, what is this application security all about? Okay, how is it associated to the RMC side? Why are we discussing even about application security when the session is all about RMC area? Okay, so as I mentioned, advanced access control. So access control is again associated with the user access. So for any application, you need to have a username created. The username has to be given certain access, and with that access only business or the users will be logging in, and they will be able to perform few activities. So everything is associated with an user. Okay, so in the application, in the Oracle application, you have a username created. For that user, there are few access provision. Without those access, user will not be able to do any activity. That is all about the application security. So this entire activity is done from the security console side of Oracle, which we call it as the application security set. Okay, so I will show it in the application also. Where do we do it? Because you might need to perform the same when you are doing the RMC implementation. You need to have clear understanding or a basic understanding of the application security. Okay, so first thing, as I mentioned, you will try to compare it with your day-to-day activities. Okay, so say for example, you are trying to install an application or an app in your mobile or in a desktop. Okay, so two things it will do. Either it will ask you to sign up manually, or it will request you to enter your username. Okay, if you are a new user, it will try to ask you to enter the username, or it will take based on your email address or whatever the other application was using it. So using all those things, you create an user. Now here I'm giving you access called as roles. Okay, so what is this roles in Oracle refers to as what am I supposed to do? That will be my role. If I am supposed to do a risk management activity, I have to assign risk management related roles. Okay, so that will be my role here. Okay, so that will be considered as a role. Within every role, you will have some duty role. You will have some privileges assigned to it by default. So let us again try to compare with our ongoing activities, right? So consider I am a consultant in one of the organization. Okay, so consultant is my role. Okay, when I am given a consultant as a role, by default there will be few duties that I have to do. I have to do an implementation, I have to do a design document, I have to do a testing, I have to verify all the test script, execution of the test script. So all these things are duties of me as a consultant. Okay, so those things are considered as duty. For even though the role says consultant, within that role we have so many duties to perform. Okay, those duties are nothing but duty roles. In Oracle we call it as duty roles. By default, any role, job role or the duty role will inherit privileges. So what is the privileges is which gives you access by default. Okay, when I am logging into my company laptop, I key in my password. When I key in my password, so that username password, once I key in, I have some option to install few things automatically. It does not need any admin access. I can open some social medias. Those are all default privileges given to my role. Okay, it can be my benefits or expense claims. So manager role we have separately, employee role we have separately. For any payables roles we have separate roles. Within all these things you have separate duty roles, privileges, everything inherited from the job role. Okay, so let us get into an application just to show you how all these things are working. Okay. So this is what I was showing you. This is the slide. So every user has the roles, every job role has a duty role, every duty role has a privilege. Okay, so this is how the application security within Oracle. You will first create an user, because for any application, as you see it here, okay, so I am just logging in as an user here. Okay, so as I mentioned, right, so that is one classic example that we had to depend on the Oracle security. Okay, so when the user is not active or the password is not working, so none of them will be able to log into the system. Okay, so that's why the security is the key area. Where it can be any area, any functional side of it, but application security plays a major role in access provisioning, what roles or what level of access has been given to the user, what will they be able to perform it in the application, is all decided by the security access. Okay, so as soon as you create an user, you will be able to enter in the normal last name, first name, email address, passwords, all these information we will be able to enter. Once we have entered the user details, it will ask you to add the roles. Okay, so why I have marked user to job role or the abstract role is, for a user, you can just assign the job role or the abstract role. You cannot assign any duty role or privileges directly to a user. Always it has to be tagged, this privilege has to be tagged to a duty role or to the job role. Similarly, the duty role also should be tagged to a job role or an abstract role, or else that will never be assigned to the user directly. So that is how Oracle design is. And every user you create, you have to know what are they going to perform. If they are going to create an invoice, probably you need to look for payables, invoice creation role or something. And similarly, you have to give it with the what is the password for the so I would need the credentials also. If you can send me separately also, it should be fine.